It's the Weekly Wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. And now it's my favorite part of the show where I guess what's in Tim's background today. I'm going to say, Tim, in the background, you've got Al Sharpton going up to the Torah to give his bar mitzvah speech. Am I right about that?
You are way off.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the gravel pit that Kristi?
Yes,
Noem
this is the gravel pit where any rumors of Kristi Noem's VP nomination were put to sleep.
Well, we got to get to that in a couple of minutes. But just out of curiosity, whose side are you on? Are you on the dog side or Kristi's on this one?
Better save it for the next segment.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was trying to throw you a bone there, but anyway, let's. So speaking of Al Sharpton, I mean, the world's upside down. He actually said on Morning Joe that if the Democrats are going to talk about January 6th being a riot, then what you saw at the campuses is bad too. And Mika, of course, yes, this is Bruce's Jews news right now. Mika said, "Oh no, you can't compare to January 6th," but it is like that. It's exactly. As a matter of fact, when you see,
well, except nobody was unarmed. People were shot. That's kind of a difference there.
Well, there we go. But I mean, when you see glass breaking by doors, I mean, that's the same thing. So,
and I don't think January 6th demanded that they were fed. That they said the food had to be brought into the Capitol.
I mean, all I could think of was Sam Kinison when he says, in the desert, "Give the kid a sandwich" or something. It's just, I mean, why these, or at least, build a pier, a humanitarian aid pier to the Columbia students.
It's what was really funny was the woman saying that we don't even have water. It's maybe we should ask one of those janitors that they took hostage to show them how to turn the faucet on.
I mean, well, it's beyond parody. I mean, maybe I even said it last week. I mean, they should have had, the whole theme of Curb Your Enthusiasm this year was Larry David giving water in the voting line and being arrested for that. But maybe, he could have come out there and given him water. Excuse me. There's no way of getting rid of this cough. I don't know what to do about it. It comes and it goes. The
studio is not providing us with a cough button.
There we go. But here, let's go to Babes involved in this. Of course, I think last week we had Susan Sarandon. Jane Fonda, of course, is on the side of the terrorists. As she's been consistent. I mean, since Vietnam. But I don't know if we have the picture of Jane. Somebody tweeted to me, because I think she still looks, like a babe. Just don't stand in front of her face, when it explodes, because there's a lot of, if you're
can you still be considered a babe when you've passed the better part of the century?
I mean, pretty much she's 150 years old, and because Vietnam was almost 60 years ago, so yeah,
sure.
She's up there.
She's outlived most of the veterans.
Oh boy, think about that. So this is a small ball thing, I guess, but I can actually see the split among the neocons right now, because it's Abe Greenwald of Commentary Magazine, while they were, showing the New York police going into through the window at Columbia. He tweeted out a 2019 piece that he did about how pro-Israel Trump has become. And meanwhile, Jonah Goldberg was cherry picking comments that Trump had made to Hannity that night. They kind of made Trump look bad. Of course, I could be cherry picking all these comments, but it just seems to me that I see like even a shift among never Trumpers. And it's just possible. And I don't know how big that universe is of the Republican never Trumpers, but it just seems like things are going Trump's way. You every week look at the betting odds. Just a couple of weeks ago, it was in favor of Biden. The Bloomberg News Morning Consult poll the other day was like overwhelmingly in favor of Trump. He was even ahead in Pennsylvania. Biden was among the 7 swing states. Biden led in only Michigan. What say you right now to the way the election is?
Like I said, I follow the polls. It just crossed over. It's Trump is now ahead in the betting polls.
Oh, in the betting.
It's
Okay.
only about 2 points up, but Trump is now leading in the betting polls. So
okay, so there you go. So after that brief actual real analysis interlude, let's go back to the babes. So Megyn Kelly it was hysterical. I guess we played the soundbite. I mean, she went there. She actually went there and talked about what the female protesters look like. Let's listen to Megyn.
And by the way, why are they so unattractive? I really legitimately want to know. Why are all the protesters so homely? I don't think they're unconnected. I'm not going to lie. I think attractive, smart people are not drawn to this nonsense. They're living their lives being successful. It's the unattractive and or dumb people who feel the need to do this to feel like they matter. Sorry, hard.
Yeah, wow. I mean, you know what's fascinating about Megyn Kelly? I mean, and she's probably right, but don't you remember that debate? I think it was like the first debate, the Trump debate with Hillary in 2016, or maybe it was a primary debate, and Trump cast aspersions about women, and Kelly was a moderator there, and everybody was up in arms and how anti-feminist he was, and now she's talking about homely women.
Sure. Was that the only Rosie O'Donnell
I
moment?
think that was the Rosie O'Donnell mention there. But I mean,
you call women fat pigs, and he goes, no, only Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah, I mean, but
best comeback ever.
But there's Megyn going there, and you know, she's all dolled up there with the peroxide and you know,
she's kind of the back of the train on this one. I mean, this has been going on forever, as people have been talking about how much more attractive the conservative women are.
Well, including Megyn Kelly. So,
yeah.
But it's just something when she says it. And yeah. Do you know that she was Amy Jacobson's intern? Famous interns for 50, Art. Yeah, I mean, who's my most famous intern? Was in it? I think Lou Canellis, the sportscaster at Channel 32. But Amy, Megyn Kelly was one of her interns once. So, you've even got like, did Stevenson?
Boy, I wonder if Amy Jacobson spends her time talking about how Megyn Kelly turned down stories and stuff like that.
All right. No, you know, the difference between me and Amy is Amy's a good person and I'm a vindictive, hateful person. I mean, Amy doesn't even turn on people who did her wrong, like Joe Ahern of Channel 2. I mean, I've even told this story before and I'm not going to rehash it, but I mean, she's nice to him. And he's the guy who basically ended her TV career. Me, I mean, this one
ended your own TV career. and aren't nice to anyone.
Did you see where Don Lemon apparently has come out against DEI? That's almost as good as Al Sharpton, being in favor of the Jews right now. So,
well, I think what he was complaining about is that it doesn't work. I mean, he's got 2 intersectionality points and can't find work.
That's true. He needs to do what else? Probably needs to go trans. I mean, because if he did that, that would be 3. that would be pretty good. So back anyway to Colombia. So Biden apparently came on the air and gave a speech. This is we're taping this on Thursday, in which of course he made sure to mention anti-Semitism 2 minutes into a 3-minute speech, and then quickly followed up with, we got to worry about Islamophobia too. So that's a wash at best for him. And that's the way he does it. And it's not going to redound to his benefit. It doesn't look like. This is like a godsend to Trump, this whole campus thing.
It's a beast they do not know how to control because it's a conflict between the contingents that make up the Democrat voting bloc.
Yeah. And people are saying, well, when the Democratic convention comes in, may reach its peak at that point, that, oh, well, it's not like in 68 where you actually had the cops beating up yippies right near the hotel on Michigan and Balbo. And you can't, but so what? They'll be put in Grant Park. There'll still be demonstrations.
Green tents and Grant Park.
It'll still be bad.
Sure.
So
did you see that Iran is offering a free college admission to anybody who's expelled from United States universities?
I thought that was a joke, wasn't it?
No, exactly.
I think I put it in your routine if I were you. Yeah,
and it's like I could see some women saying, "Yes, I'll go to school in Iran." It's like, oh no. We did not mean you.
Of course not. So
you are not allowed.
I do see for the local angle, Oak Park, their board is going to vote on a ceasefire resolution. I also note, I believe the Oak Park Methodists just got a divorce from the West Side of Chicago Methodists. And I'm trying to think, who got custody of the Eisenhower Expressway there, because, that's over gay marriage and everything like that. So, well, we'll get to that.
That's what they built that expressway for, was to keep the Methodists apart.
I knew it served some kind of purpose. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
My weekend update co-anchor, Michael Che, was going to join me here tonight, but in solidarity with President Biden, I decided to lose all my black support.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. So, I hate Colin Jost. No, I mean, I think he wrote a book that said, I've got a face you'd love to smack. I mean, he does. And he's actually a funny guy and everything, but I think my tolerance for Saturday Night Live was, pretty strong. When he started making fun of Brett Kavanaugh, and they didn't make fun of whoever that chick was that claimed 40 years later that she was dry humped. That I think that kind of did it for me. But anyway,
Blasey Ford, is that?
Oh yeah, right. So
yeah, it's completely one-sided. Ridiculously so.
But anyway, so I mean, I would have loved had Jost given Biden the same treatment that Don Imus gave Clinton right in front of Hillary. I mean, it was I couldn't even look. That was, oh my, about bimbos and everything. Oh, it was just horrible. Anyway, the thing about Jost, sorry,
Mr. Johansson, you mean?
Yeah, so, exactly. So, and that's another reason I don't like him, because he got to have Scarlett Johansson, but
Scarlett Johansson kind of sounds like a disease, doesn't it?
Or a middleweight boxer. I can't remember. If you remember that. But anyway,
passed away in 1840 from the Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah. So anyway, Colin,
was she there? Oh, she was there at the dinner. That's was she at the dinner?
At the end of his speech. Oh, I'm loving this. The coughing is wonderful. At the end of the dinner, he says to Biden, and with all seriousness, you are a decent man. And look, yeah. I mean, you could vote for Biden. I understand the reasons if you're a liberal, but Joe Biden is not a decent
never was
man.
A decent man.
A National Review had an essay written by Charlie Cook. National Review. I mean, this is William F. Buckley, all the highfalutin words and Latin phrases, and the headline was "Joe Biden is an asshole." I mean, they went there. I don't even know if we can say that, but
no, he's been that way since he was in grade school, copying off the guy next to his paper.
And we don't have to rehearse the story about what he did to that poor guy who got into the automobile accident with his first wife and said that the guy was drunk. And it was just made up, this stuff. And the guy went to his grave,
Yeah,
miserable.
Corn Pop was actually an honors student.
Anyway, so that's ridiculous. All right.
Well, he also said in that little closing thing that he goes, if this was not a free country after this event, we'd all end up in prison. Yeah, right next to the former president that you know.
I mean, just
and that we are protecting freedom in this country. Yeah, by
right.
burying half the stories.
Right. So speaking of burying, you're right in that pit right now in front of where Kristi Noem's dog went. I'm always for the underdog. This case it's a 6 foot underdog, but I'm trying to make the case for Kristi Noem. I don't know if you can make it. Whose side are you on?
What? The dog, you mean?
Yeah.
her or the dog?
Her, the
it's
dog.
The dog. Yeah,
Yeah.
the dog felt he had a right to those chickens. The dog was too young to know that those chickens belonged to someone else. It's or do you mean whose side am I on? The Kristi Noem or the pro Kristi Noem or the anti Kristi Noem?
Well, I mean, I guess there's a whole bunch of sides to this. Look, she's actually basically kind of using the Charles Barkley plea. I was misquoted in my autobiography, I think. Or couldn't she have told her kids that the dog went to the farm? As many people do when they euthanize their dogs. Of course, she's on the farm already.
She's on the farm, yeah. And so they're not going to. Yeah. Well, there was a nice home in the city that that wanted a dog who liked chicken.
Now,
I mean,
now we do know that Obama
reverse?
ate. Remember, Obama ate dog, but that was like an Indonesian delicacy. I hate to say it boils down to the judgment of Mitt Romney, but I saw a quote from him saying, look, you can't kill an 11-month-old dog. I mean, can you? Can you kill? Is that still a puppy? I don't know.
I heard it was 2 years. It was 11 months.
I thought he said it was 11 months. And let's give her, and I'm trying to give her, every possibility because, she's kind of good looking and that matters in the judgment of her, especially for a politician. And it's not like she was from North Dakota and Fargo. So, where that kind of, they would have put it in
that happens all the time.
Yeah.
It's
so,
it's gonna take care of a crook and a dog at the same time, the same pit. Yeah.
So
here's the thing. Here's how I feel about it. It's she's on the farm. Ugly things happen on the farm.
Yeah.
There's a coldness on the farm that does not exist in urban life that you and I are familiar with.
I tell you, it is a different culture, and I'm just wondering. We live in this society where we fetishize animals, but then kill
Sure.
zygotes or embryos. Sure. But still,
number two in that part of the world, there aren't any no-kill shelters. There's no place where you can put it and maybe they'll socialize the dog and make them fit for living with children. And
you're wrong.
Find a home.
No, you don't know what you're talking about, man. There is a no-kill shelter right between the right nostril of Abraham Lincoln on Mount Rushmore and the left nostril of Teddy Roosevelt. And where are the no-kill shelters?
Yeah, it's not a thing in rural America, and especially a state that rural. What's more cruel, taking the dog for a run in the gravel pit, then all of a sudden he's chasing rabbits in the sky, or actually dragging him to a shelter and leave him there for adoption for 2 weeks before they put him down. I mean, at least it was so. As far as what she did, I don't really see a problem with it. I understand it. Politically, it shows a remarkable ignorance. And the fact that she would allow that, or her editor, the editor she chose, or the ghostwriter she chose, put that in the book, shows a remarkable political ignorance that we don't need on the ticket.
We do not need honesty on the ticket.
Absolutely not. Honesty does not sell.
It is, it's, first of all, it's not always the best policy. And those who believe that honesty is the best policy, was it Alan Bloom who pointed this out? I can't remember. That's a cynical thing too, because it's almost like, oh, it's a policy, like insurance or whatever. It's not good for its own sake.
Yes.
You don't want to be honest for its own sake.
I'm sorry, I did not sign that honesty apology. Therefore, I do not have to abide.
I mean, what's the deductible on my honesty policy?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
exactly. Honesty might be the best policy, but it's certainly not the most affordable.
No, totally no. And I am wondering what the deductible is. I think you should get, you pay for your first 3 white lies. But then, a whopper, I don't know. So yeah, it's just, I'm like, and all kidding aside, I do have this contrarian view. I'm always trying to figure out the case for the underdog. And I think you've made it right here, but politically, just it, and you need the savvy. We can't afford any more gaffes here, because those wobbly independents. Why are they independent? I mean, so they're already a problem too. I mean, some of us would like to throw them in a gravel pit. If you know what I'm talking about.
Sure. It's she fed the left perfect meme bait. And,
right. We don't need that. All right. No. So how about Mayor Johnson was disinvited to the funeral of this police officer who was murdered, like in his own driveway. The family didn't want him there. And then I think one of his minions told the grieving widow or mother, oh, he has to be there. It's mandatory. Anyway, but I was thinking, what if the mayor had promised the family 2 tickets to a Bears exhibition game at the new Chicago Teachers Union field? That might have placated them.
Well, no, I mean, why would he placate? You think the daily, either daily regime would have bothered to placate? No, it's you disinvite me, I'm going to tow all the damn cars at the funeral.
Exactly.
You guys will carry the coffin out to an empty parking lot.
Yeah. Now, I saw a video. We probably don't have it here, but some of the TV reporters were trying to ask the mayor a question, and he was like near his car, and he made a run for it. And you hear like Marianne Ahern of Channel 5 saying, "Why are you always running from us, Mr. Mayor?" And it's not really good for this mayor right now. It's just not really working out.
Are we ever going to have more than a one-term mayor in Chicago?
That's a video right here if you're watching, and I think that's Marianne going after him. And I mean, no, Marianne, you don't have the shoot to kill order or shoot to maim order on the mayor. Okay, Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap.
I can't imagine you're going to lose, but...
Well, look, he's promised if he doesn't win, there's going to be a bloodbath.
Can you imagine?
Like that. Here's what bothers me most. We have a fundamentally different value set. For example, when he was in Paris, he wouldn't go to that gravesite and said they're losers, these men and women who were killed in battle defending America. Losers, and I'm glad I wasn't there, because I think I would have. My son's in one of those graves, in one of the graves back here, not there. And the idea that they're losers and suckers.
And McCain's a loser. He said McCain's a loser.
Well, McCain's a loser.
Can you imagine?
When John McCain got out of prison and was released, he came work for me.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. And, and Biden, of course, rather stern falls for all that. It's interesting how people who are seemingly cynical, you've seen this a lot. then they turn out to be so gullible. And maybe the cynicism you have is a protective thing that you do. And then because deep down, or maybe not even so deep down, you have, like an idiot, like Howard Stern, who, you put the suit on him. I mean, why did he have to wear a suit? I mean, he puts the suit on, but his hair still looks like, French poodle. So, what's he doing?
It's got to be a wig, by the way. I don't
right.
think,
now because we're doing this segment. It's a special request from Chris, our producer, because he used to be a big fan of Howard Stern. You haven't listened to Stern since he was in Detroit, right?
Since he left I used to listen to him when he was on W4 in Detroit, and not since.
Yeah. Now, I actually listened to him. For some reason, I got satellite radio free for a while, and I listened to him. And this was when Game of Thrones was on, and I actually I was laughing real hard because, like me, he did not get the plot at all, and had to be spoon fed it every way. It was pretty funny, but then he was writing.
Wait! Game of Thrones had a plot.
Well, yeah, there you go.
I just thought it was people being decapitated and lots of boobs. That's
me too. And written by a 12-year-old in that Andy Samberg Saturday Night Live sketch. But I
might add, did you notice that he called him decent? That's
the same thing that's the talking point.
Exactly.
For
that must have gone out. That must have gone out on the press wires.
Because that's what Jost. Yeah,
exactly what Josh said.
Guy.
Decent.
The funny thing is, I mean, as we've mentioned, he's totally indecent. But
it's kind of funny too. It's kind of a small compliment, isn't it? Well, is he a great president? No, but he's decent.
Yeah, right. I mean, even if it were true, assuming argument.
Yeah, it's an under compliment.
But so I was listening to satellite radio, and then I got bored with it because he was in the process of writing this book, and it was like, for Howard Stern, I'm sure it's been a big deal in his life to actually read a book. So, he wrote one, so to speak. I think it turned out to be just a compilation of his interviews with a number of people, but he was laboring over this, and he was so nervous about it. And he was talking to his minions, and they of course are obsequious, and they're not going to tell him that this sucks. And I'll never forget. The book finally comes out, and it was boring talk and all that. Anyway, it's talking about whose show we're going to be on to promote this, and very nervous about writing a book. And when the book comes out, I'm actually listening to sports radio, and there's this guy, Danny Parkins, on the Score. Big Stern fan. He's also, whenever he can, chimes in with all the liberal talking points. The typical.
Biden's a decent guy. Stuff.
Biden's a decent guy again. And the book comes out, and he kind of like chokes back his comments. He says, it's a good coffee table book. I mean, that's a Biden is a decent guy comment. You don't want to hear that you've written a good coffee table book.
It's a decent book.
Yeah, it's a coffee table book, and he was trying to be nice about it. So yeah, the book sucked. I think the real problem is with Chris, our producer. What made you such a big Stern fan? I mean, what's the big deal, Chris?
To chime in now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I was a fan of Johnny B, Steve Dahl, Steve with you, Steve with Gary, Kevin Matthews, Stern, even Opie and Anthony, just that whole form of radio. And, Stern, the first time he was on, I mean, remember his Channel 9 show, they used to put it on here on, I think, Channel 50. I watched that. It was irreverent. It was stuff. This is back, remember, this is groundbreaking radio. Late 80s, early 90s. So, but what he's become from that, and the apologist, and the theories of why, because he has so much of his past out there that he could just completely be canceled immediately if that stuff, if someone went and ran with it. Why it's so neutered now?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he, it's also a function of age. We become what we hated. And no, I know, I know, I mean, it happens. I mean, it's like Animal Farm. The pigs wind up dining with the farmers after the revolution is over.
Sure.
But I remember having lunch with Jonathan Brandmeier once, and we didn't have lunch very often, but it was kind of like a conciliatory thing because he got upset that I got to sub for him. And this is like in the early 80s when he was a little bit vulnerable. And we had this really nice lunch, and he's telling me that he had heard, this is like early 80s, that Howard Stern had actually considered coming over to the Loop, or my station, for like $55,000. And this is right before everything exploded for him. I mean,
wow.
It's possible he would have wound up like, on after Eddie Schwartz or something like that in Chicago. So that's the way these things turn.
Here a little footnote that you might not be aware of. Growing up in Detroit, I knew this, is that Stern was the one they brought in when Steve Dahl went to Chicago.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was,
I mean,
Steve
and of
Dahl's-
course,
he was-
Steve, I know Steve, and I don't blame Steve, was probably thinking, and I think Stern even admitted this, that he was kind of inspired by Steve. Well, I mean, Steve's had a nice life and career and everything like that.
Yeah, well,
he
he
doesn't
had to-
make
he had to-
$100 million a year. Oh yeah, oh gee whiz.
Yeah, well, he had Steve's audience. So I
Yeah.
mean, when Steve left, it was kind of abrupt, and they brought him in, so he had to kind of continue the same show, and then of course he took it up a notch.
I don't know that he took it up a notch. I don't think I don't think he's more clever than Steve.
in Detroit, he took
it
it
seemed
up
like
a
it.
notch, bringing in the strippers and the hookers
Oh,
and all
right.
that.
Well,
he had cranked
hey,
it up a notch, and then of course
Nobody,
Steve had.
hey, listen, buddy. I was once Steve Dahl's partner, and I worked with Steve Dahl, and nobody could be more disgusting than Steve Dahl on the radio, and I was disgusting too, and nobody could outdo us on that. Don't get me started on that. But anyway, I love that Stern is saying he's a decent guy. I remember when Jon Stewart, nay Leibowitz, sat face to face with Obama and called him dude. Actually called him dude. Meanwhile, Howard gets all dressed up, genuflects to Biden. Somebody was suggesting on Twitter, here's some questions he should have asked. Is Jill completely shaved? Did you get her on the first date? Is she a C cup? See, I couldn't come up with better stuff than this. Has she ever brought home another girl? This is the kind of stuff. And of course, yeah. So
It's we got a special surprise for you, Mr. Biden. Your baby mama-in-law daughter. So
how about doing a
grandbaby daughter, but granddaughter. I can't even say it. What I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. All right. How about you do, like an intelligence quiz or something like that with Biden, and if he gets a question wrong, you flush his head in the toilet like he used to do with strippers who couldn't answer questions.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, you might recognize this stripper. It's the one who never got invited to Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh my goodness.
I made it clearer that time. He actually called Biden. He said, "You're the father of the nation," and it's
unbelievable.
Yeah, that's why we're all on crack. Okay, that's we're all on.
Do you remember when Michelle?
Don't try to take a shower with me, Mr. President.
No, do you remember when Michelle Obama made some kind of reference like that they were like the parents of the nation, she and Obama? And I was thinking, you know what? This nation is a couple hundred years old. Maybe we needed a father in our infancy. George Washington, by the way, statue of George Washington swaddled in some kind of hijab or something like that from the protesters at George Washington University. Another point for Trump there. Yeah, we don't need no mommy and daddy to run this country. What we need.
Drew Barrymore just called Kamala the mother of the country. Just said that we don't need a Kamala, we need a Mamala.
Oh man. See, I actually prefer right now, like people like Biden or Trump going into their dotage. You know, you take care of your parents and you run the country. The people run the country.
Yeah.
And they're, you know, you still honor them, whatever, but not Biden. I mean, he's beyond being being honorable. Yeah, no, it didn't surprise me. I mean, Stern, well, first of all, Stern did this kind of interview with Hillary a few years ago as well. You know, it wasn't exactly quizzing her on the bleach pits. Well, you know, it wasn't taking her deposition. I mean, could you imagine if Stern had sat there like the prosecutor, Robert Hur, and said, well, when did Bo die? Ah, no, I'm not going to test you on that. I mean, yeah, no, didn't shock me one bit. And that's, you know, Biden's in a bubble, and Stern is Stern is actually in a bubble because he's afraid of germs. You know, he still thinks COVID is going around, I think. So he's in a bubble, and there's nobody to tell him otherwise that he's off his rocker. So Chris, sorry, because the only true shock jocks left in this country are me and Tim Slagle, and you can. Bruce will Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap.
There is no one on God's green earth who is a greater enforcer of the laws of this land than Roy Tillman.
Why do I feel like there's a butt here?
But you got any weaponry back there?
Got an air horn. All you people sneaking around here pretending you're so nice, but I know who you really are. I'm a winner.
That don't sound accurate.
I'm a winner.
Yeah, my ASS.
Bruce will Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. So, Tim, we got to talk about Fargo.
Sure.
Because, in part because of you, I went through all 5 seasons.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I liked the first couple. I think the first season was the best. But if you remember, I said at the start of watching season 4, you know, I'm sure it's good and everything, but I don't want to be lectured about civil rights.
No.
And plus, I mean,
the civil rights angle was kind of unnecessary, but I thought it was well written.
Yeah, no, it was fine. But Chris Rock, you know, you're looking at him and you can't help yourself. You're thinking of doing some kind of comedy routine, or, you know, at least if Will Smith had come in and, you know, slug them, but I mean, he was fine too. It was fine. No, that's season 5. And you said, I think you said season 5 was your favorite. Am I right?
I think, yeah, I'll still say that. It's,
okay.
I really enjoyed it, and I know you probably had a problem with it. I forgot about it, that it had the little side plot of the North Dakota militia that
John Hamm
probably irritated you. Yeah,
John Hamm _Ham. I mean, he must have been laughing. Had to do like a million takes. These lines are so over the top.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you know, he's a wife beater. He's a wife killer. He's, you know, I mean, excuse me. I mean, whoever's like what is this, Noah Hawley or something who's writing this, and it's into the Coen brothers. I mean, I think he's having a good laugh too. It's just, I mean, it was intentionally comical too, you know, and I enjoyed it. I mean,
yeah, it's absolutely comical.
But you know, and then they have the graphic, you know, if you have been a victim of domestic violence and everything. And I'm sorry. I mean, it was just so over the top. Unbelievable.
Yeah. But, well, you know, you could kind of look at that with that same thing that they run at the beginning of each show, is that this is all a true story.
True story. Everything.
It was the names have been changed to protect the survivors or something to that effect. And it's not a true story, and it's none of the seasons were a true story. And the Fargo movie wasn't a true story.
I know.
So it might
that's like, you remember the movie Revolutionary Road? It was DiCaprio and Kate Winslet in suburbia, and everybody saw the movie and thought, this is, you know, anti-suffocation of the 1950s suburbia stuff. And the guy who the guy who actually wrote the book was actually lauding the normalcy of suburbia, you know, against the chaos of modern life. But people don't get that. You know, they want to read into it, you know, what
well, I kind of thought that. I kind of thought that if you remember the Monkey song Pleasant Valley Sunday, I always thought that was supposed to be satirical. But now that I'm a little older, it's the smell of charcoal, roses blooming, cutting lawn, well cut lawns. It does sound like a pleasant.
It sounds
Sunday.
great.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't want that?
I thought that was supposed to be satirical too when I first started. So it's kind of the same thing.
It's at 60, we wanted the revolution. We wanted to make a lot of money at the revolution. And, we had our nice little songs, Pleasant Valley Sunday. All right, let's talk about something really important.
You don't want to know what else I saw in what else I saw in Fargo season 5?
No, I wanted to. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I loved how the fact that that they had that character, that demon who was cursed with all the sins of Western civilization.
Yeah.
That actually had survived since the early days of the Vikings. It had made it across, and it had been living off of people's misery. And I loved that demon character, that supernatural twist that was added to it. You wonder, is this really the same guy that's lived for thousands of years, or is it just some guy that thinks that he lived for thousands of years? It's just and the guy is pure evil, and he is nothing but sin and the epitome of sin.
Then he is, and it's spoiler alert, she says, how about trying a little forgiveness? And then through his yellow teeth, he smiles
and has a biscuit made from love. And all through it, Dot is such a wonderful character. She is forgiving. She is nothing but sweetness, but she can be vicious when backed into a corner. And all she wants through the entire season is a plate of pancakes
and
she never gets.
and a Pleasant Valley Sunday. That's what she wanted.
Yeah.
And so really, this is far from talking about the evils of Western civilization. This is a celebration of where we've come. Normalcy, home, the kid at home. Yes.
And then you have John Hamm, who is also very evil, just an evil person, but yet is walking like he is the epitome of Christ, and he is nothing but evil, and he is vengeful, and he wants to kill. He is essentially, the way I looked at it was that John Hamm was like the Old Testament. He was the epitome of a vengeful God.
Oh, okay.
He was,
so now
he was
Tim
also,
comes out as anti-Semite.
He was also a also a polygamist. I might add.
Look, you know what the thing was. I mean, and I'll take your description of God in the Old Testament under advisement. But I like that John Hamm put on a few pounds for this role. I like the idea that he's not, the nice trim, fit madman, madman. That
it's because he quit smoking. That happens to us all.
He's got that shirt hanging out a little bit. John Hamm, a little fat. Plus, I think I love the woman she's from the soccer series, the English soccer series that I watched on Apple TV. She was on that. Was it Joe? Ted Lasso. She was on that, right? Am I right? That's the same woman that's on there.
I still haven't watched Ted Lasso.
But anyway, I liked her in that. But I also would have liked Kristen Wiig because she did a lot of stuff on Saturday Night Live with John Hamm, and I just would have liked to see them cracking up underneath their breath during their lines. But not that I needed it to understand the satire there. Okay, now this is Chris's day because we talked about Howard Stern, but I know Chris is really big, really cares a lot about the new White Sox announcer, or cares about White Sox announcers. If you recall, he did not like Jason Benetti, who was this funny, smart guy, and who was heartbroken when the White Sox got rid of him because who knows, Jerry Reinsdorf didn't get the jokes. Apparently Chris didn't either. So now we got this new guy, John Schriffen, whom everybody wants to call John Schifrin as if he's the son of Lalo Schifrin, who wrote the Mission Impossible music. And I think it is kind of a Mission Impossible for Mr. Schifrin to generate goodwill, in part because a lot of people think that the Sox are wrong in getting rid of Jason Benetti, in part because nobody really cares and nobody shows up to White Sox games, but in part because he's kind of put his foot in his mouth already. He referred to former White Sox owner Bill Veeck as Bill Veeck. Eek.
Oh dear.
He did that. Well, I mean, for the record, Bill Veeck's been dead for almost 40 years. Spent the last few years of his life actually as a Cub fan in the bleachers at Wrigley Field. But, you know, people are getting upset about that, you know, your White Sox tradition. I want to know what Chris thinks of the new White Sox baseball announcer.
First, Bruce, it's not that I didn't get Jason Benetti's jokes. I don't need to hear jokes about Phil Silvers during a baseball game.
Now, here, I got to tell you something. How old's Jason Benetti? Like 14? I mean, how did he know who? How did he? You know, here's the thing, and I'm just totally making this up right now. You know, he has cerebral palsy. Okay, and I'm wondering if when he was a little kid, like I said, I'm just imagining this. Maybe it's totally wrong. He might have been stuck in front of a television set and just absorbed. I mean, how do you know when you're his? I mean, Tim and I know who. I barely know who Phil Silvers is. Tim knows who Phil Silvers is.
Mad World is the only.
Well, do you know him from the Phil Silvers show at all?
No.
Oh,
not at all. Not at all.
All right. So yeah,
I figured he must have been big in comedy, or he wouldn't have been in that movie.
Right. That horrible movie. Right. It had everybody. I mean, it was like you know, when Irwin Allen
had all the has-beens of comedy.
Yeah, I was like the towering inferno of comedy where, you know, everybody bombed. I mean, everybody was in it and everybody was unfunny in it. But in any event, I mean, how you'd make Jonathan Winters unfunny.
Laurel and Hardy turned him down. They didn't want to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yep.
So anyway, yeah.
But
I mean,
Buster Keaton was there. The Three Stooges are in that movie.
Were the Stooges in Mad World? Oh, okay.
Yes, they were.
All
really
right.
brief.
So Chris, I'm surprised they didn't really have time for more than one stooge. Shemp, probably. So let me ask you, Chris. Okay, so you didn't like Benetti, you got the jokes, didn't need to hear about Phil Silvers during the downtime. What do you think of the new guy?
I gave him a few games.
Mm-hmm.
Very green. Should, you know, still be doing a AAA game somewhere in Syracuse.
Well, the White Sox are a quadruple A team. Okay.
Yeah. They wouldn't win 50 games if they moved the whole team to Charlotte and played as a AAA squad. But then I don't know if it's trying to be charming, but he asked Steve Stone, like you said, Bill Veeck. I'm surprised he didn't ask before him, because he asked Steve Stone at least the first 3 games, then I gave up on him because I think he sucks too. But like White Sox history questions all the time, like he didn't do any of the homework. Maybe he thinks it's charming that he's asking, like, I need to know this, guys. You know, what's going on here? And
I mean, it is kind of charming. And look, if you're just reading it, that's how you'd normally look. I go so far back. I remember when John Madigan of News Radio 78, a long time commentator on WBBM radio, was criticizing Veeck and called him Bill Veeck. I mean, so it happened like 40 years ago when Veeck was even here that people did it. You know, I'm more charitable. Look
at you defending this guy.
Huh?
You're defending this guy and he has no old references like you have.
I'm for the underdog. Kristi Noem, not the dog, the announcer. I'm contrarian. That's all there is to it. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
And that's the Weekly Wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The Weekly Wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production.